Hi everybody, this is Anne. Everybody who works with clay is on the lookout for new ways to texture and decorate their pots. We're no different here at Little Street Pottery. In fact, the search for unique textures has led us this week into the depths of the jungle to explore the wrinkles, scales, and patterns of exotic animals. The first project we're calling the zebra pot. For this, I rolled out a 1/4 inch thick slab and ribbed it to compress and smooth it. I then cut long strips of plastic wrap with scissors. I wasn't concerned that the plastic had a few jagged edges. In fact, I welcomed them. I then placed the strips at angles across the entire slab, leaving space between each strip. With my rolling pin, I went across each strip to create a tight bond for masking of the areas under the plastic. I then got my black underglaze out and poured some in a dish. It was an older bottle, so the underglaze was a little drier and had begun to gel. I used a wet brush to break it down a bit, but I didn't want it to get runny. With a stiff, bristled craft brush, I brushed the underglaze over the entire slab. I first brushed vertically, and then I brushed another layer horizontally until I got a thick layer where I can even see the brush marks. I then got out my sodium silicate. Again, I used a stiff bristled craft brush to brush this over the wet underglaze in a horizontal direction. You can begin to see areas where the silicate is drawing out that top layer of underglaze. For about a minute, I used a hair dryer to speed up the process. My goal was to create a thin, dry layer over the wet slab without drying out the rest of it. Now for the fun part. I picked up the edge of the slab and using my finger, I pushed up on the clay not covered with plastic. This stretched the clay, causing the top dry layer to crack. I love the contrast between the black underglaze and the white clay underneath. Once I finished stretching out each row, I picked up the entire slab and dropped it so the clay would flatten back out. I still had some puckering in the clay, so I placed plastic wrap over the top and gently pressed the puckers flat. Oh boy, now I can reveal the zebra stripes. That's exactly what I wanted. I love those jagged edges along with the cracks too. I used a T-square to cut the slab into a long rectangle. I beveled one edge. I then turned over the slab and beveled the alternate edge. I then scored and slipped the slab edges. I picked up the slab and formed it into an oval, joining the slab along the beveled edge. If you'd like to see a good video on how I construct these, check out the link above. I used a carpet tube to form and round out each side of the oval shape. Now here's what I made previously, where I added a bottom and a thin slab around the top for the rim. Then for fun, since it was a zebra pot, I couldn't help but add a zebra head and the cutest little zebra tail. And here he is in all his glory. I just had to make sure I left air holes in each of the hollowed out sculptural elements before I fired it. Who's a good boy? The next project is the elephant nut dish. I rolled out and ribbed a small 1/4 inch slab. I then created a template for the body of the dish and cut around the template. I then removed the excess clay. With a wet finger, I rounded the edges of the slab first on one side and then the other. I had a small china paper plate that I used as a mold for this. I placed the slab over the plate. I very gently pressed the clay down in the center to begin the slumping. I then used a soft rubber rib to gently push the clay along the edges up towards the rim. Using my fingers, I fluted the ear edges like this. On this one I fluted each side 3 times, and then I set it all aside. Then I rolled out a separate small but long 1/4 inch slab and ribbed it smooth. Using the baby blue underglaze and a stiff craft brush, I applied this over the slab, first vertically and then horizontally. While this was still wet, I slightly dipped the brush into the black underglaze and applied that over the blue so that it blended together to make a light gray color. Again with the sodium silicate and a stiff bristled brush, I brushed this horizontally over the slab. Now for the hair dryer, I used that just for 1 minute over the surface to dry out that top layer. Again, I'm using my fingers under the slab to stretch and crackle that top layer. Can you see the elephant skin there? I then took the second template, placed it over the stretched out slab, and cut that out. I started cutting with a needle tool, but it began ripping the clay because of the silicate on top, so I switched to an X-Acto. It cut like a champ. Well, there we go. Now that's what I wanted. Now to round the slab. I used a 1 inch dowel and began to form the slab around it like this. I hung the top edge over the dowel end and gently pushed downward on it to form the top of the elephant's head. Then I switched to a slightly smaller dowel and continued to round the slab by pushing the edges toward each other, so I had a carrot shape, which is actually the head and the trunk of the elephant. I brought the elephant ears back and positioned the head of the elephant in place. I traced around the head with a needle. I then scored and slipped the plate and the bottom edge of the head and attached it. I then used the blue underglaze and brushed it over the ears along with a dab of the black underglaze. I'm using the same colors as I used on the head and the trunk. I'm also using the brush texture to establish the direction of the ears drooping down from the top of the head. Now here's one I made previously where I added eyes, and you can also see that the ears appear attached at the sides. Now here's another version I made that's already glazed and high-fired, but the ears were just glazed black. What do you think? Is that cute or what? Finally, I'll show you how to make a simple snakeskin bowl. Again, I rolled out and ribbed a 1/4-inch slab. This time, I used a readily available webbed shelf liner as my textural element. I laid it over the slab and rolled the pin over top. At intervals, I stretched the webbing sideways and back. I continued to roll until the liner was embedded into the clay. I then brushed a light coating of the intense yellow over the webbing, making sure that the yellow coated the inside of the webbing. I then added a light layer of the bright red, followed by the baby blue to take out the intensity. With a smaller brush, I took some of the black and painted black circles over the top to complete a sort of snaky appearance. I then picked up the slab and stretched it from underneath to accentuate the scaly, snaky appearance. I also threw the slab around a little to stretch it out further. Once I had the slab stretched, flattened back out, and I was happy with it, I placed a layer of plastic wrap over the top. I used the top of a 6-inch plastic pitcher to cut out a circle. I removed the excess clay and then placed another sheet of plastic under the slab. I placed the whole thing into a styrofoam half sphere and gently pressed the clay downward to mold it into a bowl shape. I left it inside the bowl to stiffen it up. Here's one that I made previously. What I learned is that you get a different snake pattern depending on which side of the shelf liner you roll into the clay. The flat side creates square scales like this. All I had to do was apply a clear glaze over the underglaze to create this final version. I'm sure you could use your imagination to elaborate more on that snaky theme. I challenge you to look at your clay textures through the lens of the wild jungle animal to come up with many more animal print texture projects. I invite you to share your ideas below. I'd like to thank the newest members of our Little Street Pottery Research Facility team. If you'd like to join the team and earn a title, click on the Super Thanks button or the link to buy me a coffee. If you liked our video, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. See you next time in the studio. The next project is the elephant nut dish. Let me try it again.